Despite Moana 2 not having a very good review, the film itself is doing quite well at the box office. Yes, it may have been pulled off the direct-to-Disney Plus shelf, but, well, it's not doing bad for itself. And perhaps that could be because the star of Moana, the voice herself, Auli'i Cravalho, she gets it. She's the anti-ZEGLER. And today we'll tell you why, if only Snow White had tried to be more like Auli'i Cravalho, Disney would be doing well indeed. Hello and welcome back to the channel that is changing hearts and minds simply by telling the truth, dragging Hollyweird back to the mainstream middle, the sensible center where money can be made. Yes, it was through kicking and screaming, but we're largely succeeding. They are indeed coming back to where everybody else is. Folks, the only thing we ask of you as we get ready to dive into today's topic is that you click the like button, and we're going to tell you why you might just want to like very much Auli'i Cravalho, a name you may not be familiar with, but she's a Disney star who is perhaps a guiding star for where Disney needs to go. When there is a win, we always like to put wind in the sails of a win. And this is a win, I hope, for Disney. They need to figure this out. This is the opposite of ZEGLER. This is Auli'i Cravalho, and I have had my worries about Miss Cravalho. Not because I'm worried about Hollywood stars, but I saw her as having so much potential when she was first discovered by Disney, and I hope that she will find all of that potential. And I'm going to show you why, because stories like this are exactly where Disney should be. It's exactly where Hollywood stars should be. This is by Elizabeth Stanton. It says, Moana 2 star was raised on food stamps before Disney's success. Now, that probably should not be the headline, but it is. There's something far sweeter in here that we need to concentrate on. Auli'i Cravalho, the voice behind Disney's Moana character, didn't have the easiest start in life. In a new interview with People magazine, the 24-year-old opened up about landing the role that changed her life. She says, I really get to have that full decade look back at just how much growth I've gone through, she told the outlet. Before she voiced the lead character in 2016's Moana, Cravalho and her mom were on food stamps and sharing a one-bedroom apartment and Mililani on Oahu. We lived in a one-bedroom apartment when I was cast. I slept in the bedroom. My mom slept on the couch. She gave me everything, the Mean Girl star said. Cravalho grew up on the Big Island and Oahu, and after the success of the first Moana, bought her mother, Puanani, a house. She bought her mom a house. I bought my mommy a house.
I thought we weren't supposed to swear on this show.
Exactly. Your parents give you so much, she continued. Kids feel a little indebted. I'm going to be honest, but we feel so grateful for our parents' sacrifices. Cravalho said her parents, who divorced when she was young, kept her grounded from the start of her career. My parents were like, listen, if Moana doesn't go anywhere, you need to finish high school. You need to do the dishes. You need to fix your bed. Don't let it get to your head, she said. Are her parents watching Jordan Peterson? What is this? In a recent interview with the New York Times, Cravalho said that she was instantly associated with the character. My name was no longer Auli'i. Everyone called me Moana up and down the hall, including some of my teachers, she told the outlet. Notice that she doesn't say that with contempt. Notice she doesn't say, my name is Auli'i and you'll call me Auli'i. Like she's embracing that this was a gift, an honor, the chance of a lifetime. She doesn't view it cynically. She continues, I absolutely owe the start of my career to Moana, and I have done roles now that have stretched me as an actor and made me grow as a person. But I also find myself deeply connected still to Moana in that I miss my family all the time when I'm gone. Folks, this is how you market a movie. This is how a Hollywood star connects with audiences. And so I have my worries for Auli'i Cravalho, only because I want her to have the best, most successful life possible, and I want her to avoid the trappings that have caught up with so many Disney child stars. I think she's going to escape them. And I think so because as long as she lives out the virtues that she's expressing here in this article, she is on the way to tremendous things in life and some of the things that matter more than Hollywood success. And so I wish her the best. Panel, is this at least in part why audiences are giving Moana 2 a chance, even though the movie itself is not that great?
I think that Moana 2 is being given a chance solely because Moana 1 was popular, and it's the phenomenon that it was.
Well, wait a minute, Marvin. You're telling me that Auli'i Cravalho, who played the part of Moana in Moana 1 and 2, that her endearing spirit, as even it is portrayed in the movie, you're telling me that that's not having a part in the success?
I would say 9 out of 10 people in the target audience for this movie have no idea that there is such a thing as a voice actor. They're under 10.
No.
I'd actually go 1 out of 20.
See, I thought that her charming disposition that landed the role and caused her to have the sort of sweet, what would you say, cadence in her voice in the original, that she did a good job doing that in the second. And I thought that her presence is what makes people fall in love with the Moana character, in fact.
Oh, I agree. I think she's very endearing as Moana. I saw her do the Epcot candlelight processional a couple years ago. She was wonderful at that. I think her performance is what it helps made Moana 1 the success that it made. And, now for me, knowing this story, it makes me want to support her a little bit more. It's just a matter of what will the drop-off second weekend be for this movie now that the critical response has been what it's been. I don't know if there's any interview on Earth that's going to turn that around, but it might just continue being the little engine that could. I mean, Tom was 100% right about this being a massive box office success. I think it outdrew Wicked. I think it outdrew 2 weeks of Wicked in one weekend.
And we'll be watching to see what is the multiplier. How well does Moana 2 hold? But I'll tell you this. If Rachel Zegler talked the way that Auli'i Cravalho does, or for that matter, Iman Vellani, who plays Miss Marvel, if Rachel Zegler adopted their way of speaking to audiences, Snow White would be a 180-degree switch from where Snow White is right now.
I agree with that because here's the thing. Auli'i Cravalho does not get in her own way by putting out in. Maybe it's not even supposed to be marketing that Rachel Zegler's doing all this stuff in. Maybe it's, some of it's just, she just happened to be like in a line and somebody asked her a question and she says, I'm not going to stand in 18 hours in an iconic Disney princess dress and whatever. All of that stuff, it gets in the way of this movie because people associate these actresses when they see them. The good stories, unfortunately, like this, are hidden. They're pulled back. People don't see them as much. But also that's a good thing for Moana and for the movie because there's nothing there to stand in the way of its success. And as far as I know, Auli'i Cravalho has never really said anything bad, at least not on the level of Rachel Zegler, or for me, even going back, and I think it's quite a number of years now that Ariana Grande did that thing where she was in a donut shop and her boyfriend coaxed her and she licked a donut and says she hates Americans. I still can't get that out of my mind many years later. And Ariana Grande could have completely changed by now on her attitude. I don't really know, but those negative things, they stick in people's minds and they affect the things that they do for the rest of their lives. And they affect they can affect the box office returns of a movie as well.
Absolutely. I do want to show people this. Moana 2 had a tremendous opening. What we're watching when we talk about the multiplier and the hold is, will this be a 2x, a 3x? Like, what's it going to be? Because from its first week, it really, because it has no other competition, it really should be a 3x plus multiplier because there's nothing that's going to face it. And we're getting some early indication, although it's not definitive. We're about 3 or 4 days away from having something we can hang our hats on. But we're starting to get some indications that the quality of the film is dragging it down. And so as you can see here, we, in the last day, almost a complete plateau from December 1st to December 2nd. It's something like an 80% plus drop in the hold. And you can see that the projections then, it's actually dropping it out of the intended range. And so if that turns into a trend now where people say, it's not that great, wait for it on Disney Plus, we'll pay attention to that because the way that this film opened, it should have opened in such a way that leads it to be $1 billion plus. The first week, if everything goes the way it should, it would wind up at something like 1.3 billion. So if it struggles to reach $1 billion, then that's going to indicate that the quality decision that Bob Iger made really hurt it. But again, I would go back and say that Auli'i Cravalho and The Rock, by the way, remember he held out on making any kind of political endorsements this year. Some of those decisions may have earned goodwill for this film in a way that might not have otherwise existed. I don't know. I could be wrong. Culture, what are your thoughts on it? Or Tom, either way.
Well, Culture has to leave us, so go ahead, Culture.
Oh, no, I just want to respond quickly and just say, I think the absence of political bologna sausage around this probably did aid it substantially. I think that as opposed to some very weird press tour stuff that happened with Wicked, which I don't get at all. This didn't suffer any of that. They're not likening it to anything that I've seen. And again, I mean, Tom was right. I was quite surprised it performed as well as it did. I had no doubts it would do okay, especially the first weekend, especially due to its holiday. But it could be plateauing because, again, I think the criticisms of this are accurate in as much as it's not quite the same quality of the first film, regardless. Because you don't come out and attack your primary set of audiences, which is American families, you're probably going to do better when you don't go at their, traditional lifestyle. And that's the problem is Disney has wandered quite far away from tradition. And I think Tom could probably add to that.
I don't know if I'll add to it so much as I'll just kind of say that the only reason I knew this was going to do as well as it is because, again, Inside Out 2 surprised the hell out of me just like it did everybody else. That told me that general audiences don't pay as much attention to some of this political stuff as we do. I mean, I know I already knew that, but even less so. They just look, things like Strange World and Lightyear, besides the fact that certain things got out about them, that may have hurt the box office. Also, what probably hurt it was that nobody asked for them. Right? And we already had a Buzz Lightyear prequel. People forgot all about it. It was an animated 2D thing that launched that animated series or whatever it was back in the 90s.
Fantastic cartoon.
Or the early aughts or whatever it was. Yeah. So like, again, we're like, I think it was kind of like a Solo type situation where nobody asked for it. So that was half the reason it suffered, not just because of The Last Jedi. But Disney, through Inside Out 2 and a few other things, has kind of regained some of their popularity. And let me tell you something. Kids don't care if Little Mermaid 2 went to theaters or not. They don't give a crap if Aladdin 3 went to theaters or not. That's not their thing. They just know it's called Aladdin 2 or Aladdin 3 or Little Mermaid. That's all they care about. And parents, as long as they know they can trust something, and I'm sure a lot of them, there's outlets out there where you can check to see, what kind of stuff is in these movies. Don't think that certain parents don't have, access to those or know that they exist and don't check into these things. And that may affect it more than anything. And when they see it's mostly harmless, they don't care. They're not like you and I and the rest of us who care more about the quality of some of these films than the older Disney nerds and the adults, to where they just care that, is this thing going to corrupt my kid? Am I going to have 20 questions I got to answer afterwards? No, as long as they just want to go to the store and buy a Moana toy, then it's a win-win, right? Like that's what they want. They don't want any of the nonsensical crap. So like, that's the part they've noticed, if anything, because that's the other thing that goes with the whole political thing we were just talking about with Biden and everything else. Is that I think a lot of the people on the left that are freaking out going, I can't believe America's this racist and istophobic and all this misogynist and all this stuff. It's like, you're not realizing that there's a large swath of people that didn't just necessarily vote for Trump, but they voted against this crap that you guys are pushing. Right. And when you're sitting there and you're more worried about filling your gas tank or feeding your kid, that does make a difference.
Mostly that's when we need to buy a Jaguar that's the color mauve.
Exactly. So at this point, those who are completely out of touch aren't going to get it, and those who are in touch are going to get it. And this is one of the few times in the longest time where we've had some normal releases in theaters. And I don't mean just politically. I just mean that we've actually had stuff out there that people might actually want to watch. And I think what people are noticing is that the general public doesn't like it when you go too far in one direction or another, right? They kind of like knowing what they're going in and getting. And, sure, us as film fans, we love the surprise here and there. I just saw Juror Number 2 last night. Brilliant freaking film. And I know there was a bunch of controversy around it. Guess what, guys? The only reason it was in any theaters was because of David Zaslav. So don't believe the media on that one either, by the way. But that being said, I mean, that's an original film, loosely kind of obviously inspired by 12 Angry Men, but it has a completely different spin on it, a completely different new twist on it. It isn't a remake, but it is kind of what Hollywood used to do. Take classic old ideas and give them a new spin. And Disney, on the other hand, they've always been what is known as, and there's a reason why Disney always had the Disney moniker, right? It was not just safe for families, but it was always, you kind of knew what you were going to get, no matter what. You go in, it's a princess. She's going to go on an adventure. She's going to meet a prince. They're going to fall in love. You're going to buy the soundtrack and the toys for your kids. That's the Disney experience, right? That's normally what you would have. But from Strange World, Lightyear, some of these other movies, it just wasn't clicking with people. This is Moana 2. And one thing I do know from especially people like Andre who have kids this age, Moana and Stitch are huge. So this next year for Disney is going to be big when it comes to those. Now, the other stuff we talked about, like Snow White and stuff, probably not. But the live-action Moana and Lilo and Stitch are probably going to be big hits for them.
Lilo and Stitch has a shot at being the biggest financial film of 2025.
It does. It definitely does. People do not underestimate the appeal of Stitch. He is like Baby Yoda times 12.
That's right.
He's Baby Yoda if they actually wrote a character.
Right.
And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. We are done for now, but don't worry. Do not fret. Not yet, for more content is still coming your way 4 times a day right here on the Pro Channel. What a joy it has been to share our time with you. We hope you feel the same. Adding value to your every single day is our job here, and we take it very seriously. Folks, the only thing we ask in return is that you consider clicking that like button. Share, subscribe, click it, stick it to those algorithms. It's the notification bell. And drop a comment right on down below. And folks, if you'd like to subscribe to our partner YouTube channels, That Park Place, That Pod Place, That Game Place, and some of those radio stations like Vacation Radio, well, we certainly would appreciate it. Until the next time we have the honor of spending time and being invited into your day, folks, we go on our way saying this: keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.